that was a nice dynamite. That was a really nice dynamite. Okay. Okay. I'm going to talk about one thing real quick. Because, honestly, this is a really strong start. There is one small change you make, though, that takes this from pretty decent to really strong. So I'm going to back up a little bit bit more. Okay. Pop out. Whoop. Oh my gosh. Sorry, this is the first review of the day, and I'm still, like, waking up, so me controlling this is a little bit scuffed. There we go. Okay. So we're just gonna watch where everyone is real quick. So, like, you guys are all grouped up over here, and then this Doomfist comes around here. Luckily, your Ana lives. Yeah. So, that Doomfist actually had the right idea. He kind of took too long to engage, and then he didn't get anything for it. But what he's doing, you need to be doing as well, which is off-angling. And I want to be kind of specific about off-angling to mean literally any angle that is different from your team. So they're all right here. You being here is an off-angle. Your Ana can still heal you just fine. Or even back here where you have cover is also really good. Or like hugging here where you have both cover and your Ana to heal you. Here, let's see. Demo this. So it's not just that you're like waiting to pressure this off angle or like counter whoever's pressuring. You are looking to get some kind of angle on them. I realize right now you can't actually be here. This would be horrifically unsafe. I'm just like illustrating the idea because I think this makes it a little bit clearer. If you are here and like just shooting them in the face, in the side of the head, they have to turn to look at you in some way. They can shield you, they can shoot back at you, they can run away and hide from you, but like in some way they have to deal with you because you're shooting them, right? Which means if they turn to look at you, they aren't looking at your Reinhardt who's trying to walk forward into them. They're not shooting at him, they're not breaking his shield, they're not shooting at the people behind it, which means all these people get to walk forward so much easier. Part of your job as a DPS and specifically as Ashe isn't just to kill things, it is also to split their attention. And the great thing about that is if you're doing this well, if you get two people or more looking at you and you do not die, you don't even have to kill anything and you're carrying the fight. Because the rest of your team is taking a 5v4. And like, you're right, your aim right now is pretty decent. That dynamite was thick, you're getting good value here. But if you were doing that same value from any other angle sort of thing, anywhere that you're safe and they can't actually get to you really, it's like 10 times more impactful. It's just so strong. Hey Taser, I have a VOD review for tank. It was Sigma for defense and a lot of heroes for attack. Okay. Yeah. Hell yeah. Let's take a look at it after this. Okay. Let's keep this going. You get trades. And then you start walking up because you don't really have any sight lines. And that's the other thing. Being behind your team makes it harder for you personally to see and understand what's going on. Really simple diagram I like to draw for people. Okay. Here's my canvas. Enemy team, your team, you. If you're here shooting into them, you have to look through your team to see them. Like all of this shit and like all of the effects going off from them being shot and everything, it wrecks your own vision and makes it harder for you to see what's going on here. In addition to the fact that they can hide from everyone from one direction. If you're somewhere like right here, you can still see your team and you can see them. It just lets you make better choices, right? And I guess I started to talk on this. There's a big difference between an off angle and a flank. Sometimes you flanking, just being full on behind them, can be incredibly strong, but this shit is high risk, high reward. If they turn around and kill you, then you just threw. But if you can split their attention, then this is just a massive angle, right? So you can judge the distance of your angle based on how safe you feel. And I generally recommend starting out close to your team and looking to spread and kind of wrap around and split from them. And you don't have to do this all at once. It can be gradual, step by step, as you feel safe to do so. And if they start counter pushing and you feel less safe, then you just start rotating back and getting closer to your team. But you're still trying to keep some kind of angle as much as you can. All right. That was a shit ton of talking. So I'm going to go back to just watching you for a little bit. Nice! That was great, dude. Good reactions. Okay. So I saw you do it like twice there, and so you probably know the tech, but I'm just going to say it out loud in case it was a coincidence. Ashe, your unscoped shots, first off, you do more damage per second than scoped, just because even though it's half damage, it's more than twice the rate of fire. But also, the first 2 shots are pixel perfect, and after that you have spread. So there is a pattern popular with high-ranked Ashes where they'll scope in and get the headshot, and once they get the headshot, they immediately unscope and very quickly 2-tap the unscoped shots, and they usually even go for body shots then. Like, if the person is moving around and you gotta flick your aim anyway, the body shots are easier to hit, so you flick slightly down and aim for center mass. Because headshot, body shot, scoped headshot, unscoped body shot kills a squishy. And because you can do 2 pixel perfect, you do scoped, tap, tap, like as quick as you can. So you can get that second shot off just in case that first one misses. Or if they're like a little bit of a tankier squishy, you might need that second body shot. Or scoped headshot, unscoped headshot sort of thing. But you can get way more damage and faster, and you can confirm your own kills really fast out. So that's like a good, I guess, habit to get into, that little piece of tech. Oh, dude. Nice. You didn't get the final blow, but you wrecked that Zarya. That was good. That would be a really strong Bob. Potentially. Your Lucio's dead, so maybe not. We'll see how you end up using Bob. But with all that I was talking about with off-angling and all of the power that pressure can give you, that's how you should think about Bob. Bob is a free angle anywhere you want to put it. 1 scoped headshot plus 1 unscoped body shot used to kill squishies, but now it does like 190 damage. Oh, right. You're right. I forgot about the damage nerf. In that case, you should go for scoped headshot, unscoped headshot. If you're doing it fast enough, you should be able to hit those pretty quickly, usually. Or try to double tap the body shot if you think you have time, because it is still easier to hit the body shots than the headshots. So choose your own adventure based on like the target in front of you and your own aim. Either way, though, I would still double tap the unscoped if you go for the unscoped shots, because like it's a free follow-up. They're pixel perfect. Unless you're confident you're gonna hit it and you want to save your aim, I guess, or I mean save your ammo. But nice. But honestly, your ammo management doesn't seem too bad so far, so like I'm not too worried about that. Oh, hit that dynamite, or just kill him. That works too. Good dynamite. So there is an aim guide I would highly recommend. By a dude named Arge. And he is a Hanzo one trick, but he did these 2 aim guides that I linked to here that are probably the best aim guides I've ever seen, and I would highly recommend watching them because if you use his techniques, you would have killed that Kree right there, for sure. First time watcher, you explain things so well. Oh, I'm so glad. Yeah, I worry sometimes that maybe like I over-explain shit, so like if anything I'm saying is confusing or if you get it and I should just shut the fuck up, please let me know. But yeah, I feel like a lot of this stuff is actually not that difficult once it clicks, once you get it, yeah? So it's just like people aren't told this. And like the Overwatch, this is FPS fundamental shit rather than Overwatch fundamental shit. And all the Overwatch guides are all about Overwatch things specifically, and they sort of just gloss over or leave out entirely the things that are almost universal to most FPS games. So like that's usually what I end up focusing on because that's what a lot of Overwatch players don't know yet. Well, I gotta get everything because I'm a top 500 deathmatch player. Uh-huh. It's because there's only 450 deathmatch players, yeah? They're all top 500? I probably would have saved the dynamite there, but it's not the biggest deal. And like you also already have Bob, and dynamite is mostly about charging Bob. I would Bob that. Yep. Good Bob. No. Well, here. I think that was a good Bob. Yeah. Okay, this Bob is fine. If you had landed him right here, it's significantly better. Just because, like, he can see pretty much anywhere they would try to run, versus here, which just sort of cuts them off and forces the Zarya back here, and, like, these guys in here. And, like, this is still fine. It still forces them back. It splits them up. It was a great Bob. We're just talking, like, minor differences that make it a little bit better, yeah? Cool. Let's see how this fight goes, but hopefully you win it. I know there were a couple of trades, but I can't see you losing this at this point. Ooh, until your Ana does that. You're backing out. I like it. Yeah, so I'm going to draw another diagram right now because I think it would be really helpful for, like, you guys are holding this gate, right? And holding this choke is really good. But, whoop. So we're talking about those off angles, right? So, where is it? Your team, the choke, their team, and if you are here, yeah, you stay on this angle the whole time. The other part of this off angling that I didn't show with the previous diagram is if you're off angled like this, you're shooting this way, that way, they can turn to look at you, or sorry, they can turn to look at your team and deal with that, or they can turn to look at you and deal with that, or they have a third option, which is they can back up until these two angles become essentially one that they can just block from a single direction. So you off-angling can force the enemy backwards, or make it significantly harder for them to push in, either way. So, while you guys are holding this choke, and they're trying to push in, you standing right here behind this corner where you're like, you have cover, you're safe, you can use your coach gun to get back to your team if you gotta. This is just an insane amount of pressure. This can make their life hell to try to walk in through this choke. Especially with, like, how fat your dynamites are and the fact that you're hitting your shots. They couldn't just ignore you and push your team. They would have to do something about you. Nice. Oof. Oof. Yeah. Your aim is solid. watch that RG guide and practice a little bit what he talks about, and I think it's going to be even better. Um, but just to give you, like, I tend not to focus too much on mechanics. I prefer the big brain aspects of this game. But I guess just to give you a reference point, you could get by with this aim in plat. It would need to be better for diamond. So, like, you could vibe on this and, like, just work on the big brain aspects if you want, and that'll get you to plat. Or you can also be training your aim now, so you could just keep the climb going as you work on the other stuff. It's kind of up to you, but yeah. Nice. Oh, almost got him. I like the bomb. One other thing to think about Bob. So I imagine you're probably not tracking ultimates. And it's, admittedly, it is hard for the DPS to do, and in at least a scrim environment, it's not really your job. That said, if you can track ults, it's really huge for you, because you can actually use Bob to counter a few of them. If throwing Bob into a grav, like that Zarya's grav just now, can make it really hard for them to follow up on their grav. You can also, if you place him right, you can use Bob to body block in the grav, in addition to making it hard for them to push in. Hey, Tramer. Yeah, you can use Bob to zone them back, not just from, like, their pushes or in a fight, but from their own ultimates. You can just sort of fuck up their engage there. Okay. So, like, I think your Bob was fine, but I think if you had Bob that grab, it's even better, maybe. That said, to be fair, I wasn't watching the kill feed. I don't know how many you were down at that time. So, like, if you were down a few, then I'm a liar and you shouldn't have bobbed that grab. Okay. Score. Honestly, dude, that wasn't bad. 0.
This is what you call well.
You play safe for gold. In higher ranks, you're going to want to hug corners even tighter, but you spend basically all your time high ground, at least so far. I really like it. I think the biggest change you need to make is the off-angling. So, this is just like map-specific stuff, but you can think about other maps this way too, and it'll usually apply. On this map, instead of rolling out center like everyone usually does, try to roll out here. You can watch this flank. You have these great sight lines. You can always back up. You can punch this and back out that way if you need to. You can grab a mega if you need to. You can hard flank to this angle if you want to really, like, throw a fat dynamite and wreck somebody. Oh, she's not here, right, because you're afraid of McCree because he can roll and flashbang? Yeah, so if you... Ideally, your team comes with you. It's ranked. They won't. So if you come up here by yourself, you need to be listening and you need to be watching. Because you're right. If a fight that you can't take also comes this way, you can't hold this. But if you're listening and you're watching, you should get here, you know, more or less at the same rate they do. You'll see them coming or hear them coming, and you can always just be like, fuck it, I'm out. But since nobody came here, this is huge. In addition to the angle, the other thing that's strong about this is it is the highest high ground in this entire map. Shooting down on people just makes it way easier for you to hit headshots and way harder for them to hit headshots. So being above them is always going to be better. I choose not to go right. Oh, okay, yeah. And yeah, also you have your coach gun too, so, like, you can get out. And a little cheeky thing, you can shoot through these. So, like, as you're walking up, I'm usually looking through this to see if I could see somebody and put a little bit damage. Oh, what about the left route? Here can be okay. It is still an off angle. I would call this still probably better than going here, but it has a little bit less cover. It's a little bit easier to flank, and it's not quite as high of a ground. So, like, this is still okay. But if you can take this, this would be better. But yeah, these maps, you are going to have to feel it out. Like, I'm pointing out all these spots, and I don't want you to get the idea that you should just go there, no matter what. It's always going to be situational, and I'm mostly trying to give you ideas of how to think about the game. So, yeah, as a general rule, you should try to get to the highest high ground that you can. If you don't feel safe doing that, then, like, maybe you have to go somewhere else, or this is, again, just illustrative. I'm not saying you would actually do this on this point, but, like, maybe you could find an angle on the ground that you want to push them off the ground that you want to take that, to then push them back. You can do it step by step. You don't have to go straight to the end. And in fact, step by step is often going to be better. You rarely want to just go to a single spot and stay there the whole game. Usually you're looking to get to a spot that lets you get to the next spot, that lets you get to the next spot. And then, once you've won the point and you're holding them back, then it's, as they push in, then you back up. And then you back up to the next one. And then you back up to the next one. So you're making them fight for every inch without ever actually just rolling over you. Okay, point hasn't even unlocked. Again, way too much talking. Might as well let you play. So, this is just a little minor thing about Zarya bubbles. So you see this Zarya's half health. If your team is also shooting at the Zarya bubble, just break it and kill the Zarya. If no one else is shooting at the Zarya bubble, you probably won't break it before it ends, so you're just giving her charge. Yeah? If you think you're going to kill the Zarya, it's always worth breaking the bubble to kill her faster. But, yeah, she has her Ana pocket, she gets the cover, your team wasn't there to follow up, so you just gave her a little extra charge there by shooting your bubble. It's not the biggest thing, and generally speaking, it's usually better to just shoot the Zarya. So, like, Toxic just has too much in his brain not to get info out. Bro, like, I realized recently that maybe I need to go back to school to be a teacher. Like, maybe that's just what I need to be. Like, every single hobby of mine, it's what I end up doing. I was a dancer, still am, for like almost 15 years, competitive, taught a bunch, or started teaching and competing in that. Went to art school for photography, started teaching that. Like, I just love teaching people things, man. I love sharing info. Dancer? Oh yeah, Lindy Hop, a style of swing dancing. I guess there isn't really an equivalent, but if you wanted to, like, call it in equivalent ranks to Overwatch, I'm probably like 4200 swing dancer, which is to say very good, but still a massive difference between me and an actual professional. Oh. 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 Dude, this is great. I know you said, like, the third round is the one that you really struggle with, so I'm sure I'll have a little bit more to talk about there, but, like, this right now, for all that I said earlier that this is usually not where you want to be, right now, relative to your team, well, a little bit less so because now they're backing up, but a moment ago, relative to your team, this was an off angle, and it's forcing them back into this corner now. So, like, right now, this position is fucking great. And you got this corner, you wrecked that Kree, loving it, dude. You play safer than pretty much any 2000 player I would ever expect to play. Like, that's really good. Dying is really bad in this game. Don't lose the safety factor for these off angles if you can. The harder the off angle, the more risk, obviously. But if you're still playing these corners like this, and if you're being proactive about backing up when you need to, like right here, you're fine. And you have the aim to be a little bit more aggro than you are currently. Oof. Yeah, one of the... Nice. Like, the crosshair placement and the trigger discipline there is just great. Yeah, dude. I would highly recommend either like grab an alt account or just decide you don't care about your SR for a few games. And I want you to go as aggro as you fucking can. I mean nuts. I want you to be like hard in their backline an entire game. Just see how much you can get away with and do a little bit of limit testing. And then like when you're playing for real, you know, obviously you don't want to feed and die like that, so but you'll have a better sense of how much you can get away with and how aggro you can be. Because I think you can be more aggressive than you are. And you'll just get more done that way. And especially in like all the way up until like low plat, if you're aggressive enough, people will panic and they'll just fall apart in front of the Ashe that's always like shooting them in the face. And they won't really deal with you very well. And the other part of that limit testing is understand that as you climb, they're going to deal with you better. And as you improve as a player, they're going to deal with you less well. So, like, your limits are going to go up and down as you go. And are even going to vary game to game. Yeah? Nice. Okay. I'm not really talking too much about what you're doing here because the answer is off angle. Like, I'm trying not to repeat myself too much. Oof. Oof. Your dynamites are so good, dude. Lindy, help him.
I have your back.
Good job making distance, pushing her back. Yes! I was really hoping that's where you were gonna bop. That's, So, the only problem with right here is they can fairly easily just shoot him in the back of the head. So, I would look to place him actually right here. Just a little bit of a difference. And then they can't shoot him until they try to int onto the point, and then he's shooting him in the back. But this was an excellent idea. Just a little bit further to the left. Yeah. Like I said, he is the angle that you can put anywhere you want. So if you can put him somewhere where they have to push past him to get to the point, oh, it's huge. It's just so hard to deal with. Like, he's a shit ton of HP, so if they drop to shoot him, they're not contesting this point or even looking at the people shooting them. So they have to just run past this Bob and hope their healers can out-heal it. It's really rough. Okay. Whew, that's not you. That's you. But still, good Bob. I feel like your Bobs you have, like, you're like 80% of the way there, and there's just like some little aspects that you can add to it to make them even better.
Score 1-1.
Don't worry about repeating yourself, because otherwise maybe I won't recognize it. Okay. Yeah. Okay, so on this one, you know what? Here's what I'm gonna do. Rather than watch where you go on this first fight, I'm gonna watch your team and tell you where I personally would go. And then we'll see if, like, I was right, because sometimes I'm wrong.
5,
Sometimes I get killed too.
3, 2, 1.
And you gotta feel things out.
Round 3. Capture the objective.
Oh, not that. There we go. Okay. So first things first, I would have coached gun up to here to have this angle shooting down on them, and you can always back up to break LOS. I'm probably pressuring that Hanzo, maybe that ball, and then from here, I'm coming to here, and probably here. Or maybe even I drop to here if I need to. Like, if I don't feel safe holding this high ground, I might drop below. Yeah, Does that make sense? Like, my thought process here, whether or not that would have worked in the moment, I think it would have, but like, you never can tell. But my thought process here is I'm going to take the first high ground I can that I know is safe, that gives me visibility of the entire battlefield. Because visibility lets you make choices. So that's my first step, is I need to see everything that's going on so I can make a choice. And then from here, I'm picking targets, I'm watching rotations, I'm playing safe, and then depending on where they go, I might rotate to another high ground that gives me the visibility I need, or even maybe come over here to this high ground, or even like if you wanted to play low ground mega, like this can be a really strong angle pushing up behind them, but it's really risky. So, you know, it depends where they go, etc. But that's my thought process, is I want to get info first, and then I want to maintain that info and rotate to wherever I need to continue seeing everything that's going on and continue to have choices to make. There is one little addendum I want to make to that. Seeing everything that's going on does not mean standing somewhere where everyone can shoot you. It means you can peek and see, and then immediately hide from everyone except whoever you want to shoot at. Ideally, only the person you're shooting at can see you. But, yeah. I feel like Non-Toxic reads what I say and decides this is stupid, I shall not comment about it. I would never. You need more codes? I do, Tramer. As a matter of fact, I actually caught up yesterday. So yeah, anyone in chat, if you want to drop some codes, I think I have like one that I'm waiting on. Yeah. Oof. So like this angle is massive. That's a really good angle, dude. I think it's a little bit better if you jumped up onto the high ground there, but otherwise, great. Yeah. So I get that high grounds are kind of underrated in the lower ranks because just nobody's taking them. You do usually, which is really, really good. But like, oh, you know what? You took a chance, but you can't win that duel at range.
Heroes never die.
You do have a Mercy. Okay. So if you want to duel this Widow, ask your Mercy to pocket you. Because with damage boost, you can headshot her. And you have a higher rate of fire than her. Which means with a Mercy boost, you can take this duel. Without a Mercy boost, you can't. On paper, she'll win. I get that it's low gold, and like half the time they'll be awful, and you can take that duel anyway. And it's ranked. If you have seen that you can take the duel, by all means keep taking it, even if it's not favorable to you. But just know that on paper, you shouldn't be peeking Widows on Ashe, because like they'll just clap you, especially in higher ranks. Oh, hey, Pepe. I still got your live one-on-one request, so like if you want to, usually the way that works is if you want to drop a code, we'll do a VOD review, and then you'll play a game of ranked and stream to me, so we can like cement all the things that you worked on. So if you want to get me a code, cool. And if not, we could just do a live game. That's also good. But yeah, let's get that done today, Pepe. Cool. Yeah. Yeah. So like, it's low gold. You can see that you can take this duel, and I actually don't hate you taking it. But just know that if the Widow is clapping you, you need to stop immediately and come up with a different plan. Because on paper, she wins it. And it's only the fact that, like, most gold players suck and you kind of don't. That means that you can take those right now. By the way, is it my job to contest the Widow in higher ranks even if you don't have a Mercy Pocket? The short answer is maybe. You have a couple of options. You can go Widow and Contester. You can go a dive hero like Tracer to try to get around and get to her, or Genji if she's vertical, so you have the mobility to try to get to her. Or option 3, and this is harder in the lower ranks. But if you're in comms, sometimes you can get it to work. Um, I guess you did ask about the higher ranks. So in the higher ranks, you can usually get your teams to just hide from the fucking Widow. If you can, so like, for example here, you have control of the point. They have to touch the point. So if you guys hide in various places where the Widow just can't shoot you, they have to push into you 5v6. And if I'm remembering the statistic right, the statistic in Overwatch is you will win a 6v5 about 80% of the time. So if you can just hide from the Widow, that carries games. In low ranks, you cannot, for the life of you, convince this fucking Junkrat to not stand in main challenging the Widow at range. You just can't do it. I mean, you can try, and sometimes they'll listen. But, like, in higher ranks, when you maybe can't actually challenge this Widow, it is often valid to just avoid her. If avoiding her won't work, if you're in a situation where you have to push into them instead of the other way around, or, like, if she's just too good at getting angles on your team, then yeah, you want to dive her if you can, or clap her on Widow if you can. And if you can't do either, then you need to get a teammate to go with you, either a support or a dive tank, and the two of you can go get her, or a dive tank can go by themselves maybe and go get her. There's a bunch of options for dealing with the Widow. Widow, I get why Widow breaks this game in a lot of ways, but she's not as scary as a lot of people think. They just get afraid of her, and that like play into her hands because they're so afraid that they think they have to take the unfavorable duel and they win, or they're so afraid that they hide, but they hide in bad ways where like the enemy team just kills them anyway. Rest. Oh, this was the lost fight, Bob. So, kind of like the Hanamura Bob, dropping Bob into this cubby is really strong because it can see the entire point, and they have to touch the point to contest. So you force them to kind of int into Bob. A little bit less so because they're coming from this way, so they can shoot him at range, versus if they were coming from this way. But it's still pretty strong. And because this is curved, it didn't happen, but because this is curved, Bob has a tendency to slide off of curved objects, and I was real afraid he was just going to kind of keep running. So be real careful of that, because that can happen, and that's sad. Which one is better? A Widowmaker with 75% scoped accuracy but no headshots, or 15 to 20 and all of them headshots? Entirely situational, dude. Headshots get the picks, but consistent body shots are real damage. It's still 120 damage per second. Like, body shotting on Widow is legit. And especially in low ranks where no one is near cover, if you have time to 2-tap the body shot, it's more consistent than hitting the headshot. Almost always. So, like, whatever you gotta do to get more kills. I'm gonna guess the latter because that leads to more limbs. But, yeah. I mean, so there's also something to be said. So I've been talking about the off-angle pressure with Ashe. Widow does that same thing. If you're on Widow hitting body shots, they still have to deal with you because that's still a lot of damage, and you can still 2-tap a squishy. So you're still creating an angle even if you aren't getting the headshot picks. Obviously, the headshot picks are better. But if you're missing so many headshots but hitting shit tons of body shots, especially in low elo, it's usually better to hit the consistent damage than to go for the riskier kills. Nice, you guys got it to 99. Anytime you're in a 99 to 0 situation on control point, what you as a team should try to do is build 6 ultimates and press Q. It doesn't even matter if they get 6 ults. If you press Q first and kill them before they can ult, you just take a fight really fast and easy, and then you win because you already have 99%. You don't have to worry about the fight after this so long as you win it. So just take your time, build your 6 ults, and go. if you can force enemy ults out in the process, that's even better. But I have a thing about comms even in low elo, because like the quite real perception is that there is 0% teamwork at this rank. The thing is, starting in silver, I would say, probably mid-silver, the vast majority of the time, the vast majority of the people on your team who are in comms are going to at least try to listen to the calls. How good they are at that is going to vary wildly, but they are going to at least try. Especially if you're not a dick. You know, don't be like, oh my god, you guys are so bad. Or like, can somebody please deal with this widow? Or anything shitty like that. Aw, thanks so much for the gifted sub. Yay, Pepe. Oh my god, what was I saying? ADHD is a trip, y'all. Shit, somebody actually remind me. Comms. Thank you. If you are pleasant and friendly in comms, the vast majority of time, at your current rank and up, and even a little bit below, they'll try. They really will try. And you shouldn't flame them for being bad at it because they're trying to listen to you. And because, you know, you're trying to climb, so you can't expect them to be as good as you are. You have to expect that you are better than your lobby if you think you should be climbing, which means you shouldn't be a dick to those who aren't as good as you. So, yeah, I would, as soon as they like flip this point, be like, hey guys, let's just build 6 and hit Q. And probably 3 people on your team listen to you, and 2 others hit Q way too early. Cool. At least then you got 4 ults that you might not have had. Hey, Mercy, can you help me with this widow? Like, I just need damage boost so I can kill this widow. And maybe she goes with you. You know, asking nicely. And if they don't do it, well, you tried. And it's not your fault if you lose that one. Like, the fact is, there are some games where no matter how well you play, you will lose. And there are some games where no matter how hard you throw, you're gonna win. If your win rate is anywhere in the vicinity of 2/3 of your games you're winning, you're on the climb and you're doing well, and you shouldn't feel too bad about the occasional loss. You should just be like, it was one of those. What could I personally have done better, whether or not that would have actually made the difference? And just keep thinking about getting better, because consistent improvement is what climbs. So even if you lose the game, you can always learn from it. So like right here, what you just learned was like, maybe I shouldn't peek this Hanzo twice. Maybe I can peek him and take the one shot, but then I need to leave and go do something else because he hit that headshot. Or maybe you try one more time because you thought that was just lucky, and if he does it again, you know it wasn't luck. Huh. Okay, so I see what you mean by thinking you don't have a lot of impact in this game. Or on this round. And to be honest, I think you're right. I don't think you had a ton of direct impact for a lot of it, but I think you actually had some from them spending so much to deal with you. You were doing a lot the previous 2 rounds, so now they're afraid of you a little bit. They're swapping to like Widow to deal with you. I don't think that Widow was particularly great, so that was probably a mistake, and I think that's part of it. So they're swapping to heroes they're less good at to try to deal with you. They're avoiding your LOS. They're doing everything they can to avoid you. So it feels like you're not having any impact. But in so doing, because they did this so badly, your team is basically winning a 5v6 as you're running around trying to find them and trying to find value. They're so busy avoiding you, they're not getting shit done. Or like, this Widow was definitely the wrong pick. Nice. Yeah. And even there, like, if you're not getting the kill, you put a shot into them and you made them move, and where they moved, they got killed. Yeah. Uh, in conclusion, off angle more. I think that's the single biggest thing. Uh, Try to get big brain with your bob angles. We talked about that. Like your bobs are already good, but I think you can make them that little bit better. Uh, your dynamites are great. Watch the Arge aim videos. Like your aim right now is already good enough for plat. I think with the Arge videos and like a couple of weeks of dedicated practice on those, you'll get your aim up to diamond. And combine that with the off angling and continuing to live, and you'll hit that rank too. Like off angling is just shockingly powerful, and it's the biggest thing missing from your play right now. Some people will get mad just because they don't like being told what to do, but the other four teammates still get value out of your comms. Yeah, exactly. Um, and gold is generally the rank where most players start to realize that this is a team game and maybe they should try to work together. So you'll, as you climb, you're going to encounter that less and less. And then in plat, like basically every game, almost every single person is in voice, whether or not they're talking. Usually they aren't talking still, but they're at least in voice listening to comms in plat almost every time. So like, you're at the start of this game getting good. As you climb, your teammates are going to get significantly better, and that's actually going to make your game significantly easier because you already play very safe and well. So, like, those better players on the other team aren't going to have as easy a time punishing you. Trying to find the balance between off angling and getting value versus not being out of position and dying. Yeah, exactly. So, like, again, start close to your team. It doesn't have to be very far. You can still be a coach gun away from being right in the middle of your team. Or you could be standing pretty much above them and just drop to them, or like whatever. And then you just sort of spread out further as you feel safe to do so, or as your team is pushing in also. So you can like, as you make that angle bigger, you're forcing them even further back. As they start to push in, though, you have to make that angle smaller so you can be safer, or else they're just going to push on you and cut you off.